And we are live, Senator.
Okay, we are back, Senate Health and Welfare, and we are joined by Representative McGill, who will introduce herself for the record in just a minute. Before we do that, I'm going to have us introduce ourselves to you, because you're new in our committee.
Hi, Jubilee. It's Martine from Chittenden Central. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Hi, you know me.
Terry Williams, Rutland District.
Ginny Lyons, Chittenden Southeast.
Good morning, Dave Weeks, Rutland County.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. For the record, I am Representative Jubilee McGill. I represent Addison 5, which is Bridgeport, Middlebury, New Haven, and Weybridge. And I'm here visiting from the Human Services Committee to talk about our bill H94, which is passed by the House and our committee with no objections. And it is to remove the Reach Up rateable reduction. It's a report. Just some background, though I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the Reach Up program. But it was comes from federal legislation, often referred to as CAMP. And Reach Up was designed to provide many Vermont families with economic support to help them better meet their basic needs, employment and job skill training to enter Vermont's workforce and earn sustaining wages, early childhood care that fosters development during children's formative years, and services that prevent and mitigate childhood stress and trauma. The way the allowance is currently calculated is we use the basic needs budget as calculated by the Joint Fiscal Office. Currently, we're using the year 2019 figures. And then they take that amount. There's sometimes a max housing benefits that's subtracted, but really what they then do is they reduce it by the current rateable reduction, which right now is 49.6. So essentially we say a family, this is what you need to meet your basic needs, and then we cut that in half. I was once a household that received Reach Up. I was a single mom, fleeing, had just recently fled domestic violence and was raising a small infant on my own. So I depended on this program to meet my basic needs. And I can tell you, if I didn't have the strong family and friend support group, I would not be in this seat today. I would not be thriving the way I am today. It is not enough. And so this bill, we're not raising the reduction. Really, it's designed to directs the DCF to create a report and an actionable 5-year plan to remove the rateable reduction. And so it's going to look at what that will cost. It will look at what the increase in Reach Up caseloads might be. And then it will create a plan to do that phased out over 5 years. And it will also kind of identify perhaps other federal and state resources we could be using to bridge that financial gap. It will cost more. So yeah, this does not actually remove the rateable reduction, but it gives us an idea so that we can come back next session and explore that further.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Which agency did you say was tasked?
Department of Children and Families, who currently
DCF.
administers the program.
Okay, questions? So you've been through the process and understand what it does support and what it does not support.
Mm-hmm.
So your personal experience is important to us. It's helpful. Thanks. Yeah. And we're glad that you're thriving.
Terrific.
Obviously you are. Great. Questions committee. So when it went through the Human Services, the vote was?
It was unanimous through the committee, 11-0-0, and it was, we didn't do a roll call vote, but it was all yays on the House floor.
Oh, good. Okay. So people are interested in seeing this move forward and seeing what the results are.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? We're good. Thank you.
I gotta get up and vote for an amendment committee, but
goodness.
it was nice to join you all. I'm
Vote
sure
well.
we'll see you again.
All right, take care. Okay, so we have Alicia Board, who is from the Office of Pledge Council. Why don't you, and we just introduced ourselves, so we won't put you through that agony again, but if you don't mind introducing yourself and telling us who you are and how, then we'll go through the bill.
Okay, sounds good. So for the record, I'm Alicia Borg. I'm a student clinician with the Office of Ledge Council and a law student at Vermont Law and Graduate School. So as Representative McGill just mentioned, H94 is a very short bill. It pertains to the Vermont's Reach Up program, which provides cash assistance to families living in poverty for basic necessities. Eligibility depends on income, resources, living expenses, and other factors. H94 deals with the rateable reduction in particular, which is the multiplier that's used to reconcile the amount of funds appropriated to the Reach Up program with the amount of income support that a family needs for a subsistence budget. And that, as Representative McGill mentioned, the rateable reduction is currently 49.6% of the family's basic needs. So I will share my screen to go through the bill quickly. It won't take long at all.
Can I ask a question about the rateable reduction? How does that get derived? How do they come up with that figure?
So this is a good question for Alicia,
Okay.
and so when you pull that up, and then maybe you could talk briefly. I know Representative McGill did talk about the basic need budget and basing it on the market rate of 2019, I think, what she was
Yes.
saying. So
Yes.
maybe you could help us, can you help us understand what that
How the
is?
percentage was determined.
Yeah, well, how first do we determine the basic needs budget, and then can you do that, or do you want to come back to do that another time?
I am not sure that I would be the best person to explain
jump in?
that. Yeah,
Sure.
Katie can explain that.
Okay, go ahead.
Honestly, I think that's a better question for DCF and
DCF.
JFO. The rate itself is a product of rule. DCF adopts it in their rule. And in terms of how they selected that particular 49.6%, that's a better question for DCF. My understanding that it's a product of how much is the appropriation, what is the size of the appropriation that we have, and how many families need to be served by this appropriation, and then the rateable reduction is used to make the benefits equitable within that amount of the appropriation.
So we'll get DCF in to help answer your questions, and, but let's look at the bill, and that may actually raise additional questions that we'd like to have answered when they come in.
Okay, so starting with section 1, on or before January 15th of 24, the DCF shall submit a report to the House committees on appropriations and on human services, and to the Senate committees on appropriations and health and welfare, containing an actionable base plan which estimates the amount needed to remove the rateable reduction in the Reach Up program. The plan would be designed to be phased in over a period not greater than 5 fiscal years, and would do a few things. First, it would address the financial implications posed by removing the rateable reduction. Second, it would address any anticipated changes to the Reach Up caseload as a result of removing the rateable reduction. And last, it would identify any federal and state resources that could be utilized to remove the rateable reduction. And the act would take effect on July 1st this year.
So this is all, maybe just go back up. This is all being asked of
DCF to
DCF
put into a report.
put that together for us. So it's really, and it's a financial analysis, but it's also what kinds of things are influencing the base needs,
Right.
what is included there. And then what rate are we using, what year are we using for determination? So do you have any information regarding how much money is state money and how much money is federal money that goes into the Reach Up appropriations?
I don't have the amounts today, but I know that that would be within the report. So if that passes, then the federal and state resources would be identified as far as what would be.
Do you know if TANF, the federal law, provides resources to the state for Reach Up?
Our federal
Yeah,
funds
Federal dollars.
associated with Reach Up. And then the state is welcome to supplement.
okay. So we want to know, do the federal dollars meet the needs that we have in the state, and how have we expanded this? So we'll have to ask some of these questions of our DCF folks. And then, okay. Any other questions for me? Go ahead.
So I missed it on the first go around. The factor, the multiplier is factored against what number to
So
determine the
it's
benefit?
the total subsistence budget that's determined that a family would need for their basic needs. And then it's the 49.6% is the multiplier that's used to award funds.
So each individual family comes forward with their unique costs and then, no.
No.
It's calculated by the department what their need is, depending on their family size, and whether there are any maybe disabilities in the family or special needs that need to be served. Once they have that number, then they multiply it by that 49.6%, which essentially cuts the benefit almost in half for
Right,
what
I
the
get
family
that.
receives.
Okay, so they're not, I mean, every other bill we've been addressing is related to the federal poverty level. This is not. Unique.
I think to get the exact way that the calculation is done, you need to speak to the department. They're probably
Okay,
looking at
that's
whether
good.
there's any income coming into the family, and what resources the family has to rely on. Many of these families probably aren't stably employed, which is why they're on the program to begin with.
Thank
I guess we probably have to go to them to find out who's eligible.
Oh, yeah, we will, yeah, exactly. Eligibility, and then how the determination is made across the board, and then what other considerations are given for individual families. So we have to look at all of that.
Wouldn't you think that information would be in the bill?
No,
It's pretty, half, like 3/4 of a page.
right, so our job is to be informed about what underlies the bill. Now, the House committee has taken testimony and found that, gotten that information. Some of us have heard the testimony before, others haven't. So I'm trying to start at the bottom floor, and we'll bring DCF in. I'm going to ask DCF to give us an overview of our Reach Up program, the funding and how the funding is done, and then the specific consideration for basic needs budget and the rateable reduction and how that all plays out. So that's the information that we need to have before we can decide to make any improvements to the bill or to accept the bill the way it is
Thank you.
or pass it. Right? Yeah. Anything else you'd like to ask Alicia? Thank you. You've heard all the questions.
Yeah. I listened to testimony in the House committee as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be picking up their testimony. We also have JFO who can help us with this. So we'll be looking at this going forward, and I hope that you'll stick with us on the
Yes,
bill.
I will.
That's great. Okay. Are we good? All right. So I know that there are people interested in this bill. So what I'm going to suggest is, rather than take any testimony at this point on the bill, that we'll wait until we've heard from DCF and have a better grounding in the questions that we would like to ask. So we'll do that. So rather than end at this point, I would entertain discussion and perhaps motion on the confirmation of proposal, recommendation to be made to the full Senate on Dr. Merman.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, because I missed this morning and
Mr. Goodett?
yeah, I'm sorry. Had to be in another committee.
It's okay.
But I'm wondering if somebody might summarize briefly for me. Were there any concerns that any of you had? I read his resume. He seems very qualified.
Let me share with you some of the things and then I'll let everyone else do it, but we found Dr. Merman very engaging and interested and passionate, and he talked very much about the passion that he was seeing on the board, both the board members and the staff, for improving our healthcare system, access and costs in particular. He said he sees a lot of optimism on the board for moving forward and but it's complex. That was a surprise. And then his background in clinical services helps him bring more of the boots on the ground, thinking about the patients and the concerns patients go through. So when they were talking about different areas of funding, he was talking about how people might, one particular individual put off healthcare and as a result died because of the cost for the high deductible plan that he was in. He also talked about risks associated with being in a transparent environment, which is somewhat different from the risks associated with a clinical environment where he makes very fast decisions, and the risk of offering creative solutions and conversation in a public sphere different from his clinical work. We'll see if anything else. He's been there 6 months, so he's waiting
Yeah.
to do more reflection on the regulatory process after maybe a year. We'll see how it goes. And what else? Is there anything?
I mean, we asked some pretty broad, big questions, and he answered them. You know, we only had a half an hour, so he did the best that he could, but I just thought he was really impressive.
Good. I haven't met him, but I did look at his resume and I've heard good things about him. But since I wasn't here this morning, I feel like
It's up to you.
I'm gonna abstain from voting on
It's up to you.
him here, but follow the recommendation on the
We'll just
floor.
do it a 4, if everyone votes, it'll be a 4-0-1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to vote against him. I just don't want to pretend that I
Right.
was as.
And we did engage him about he did bring up the ACO, and we did engage him about that. And he said it is complex and trying to sort out the risks and benefits of that organization. So we're still working on that. Oh, did I miss anything?
Well, he's a Tufts graduate, so
Huh?
What?
it's a Tufts University graduate. So
Yeah,
Wait, are you also?
I went there.
Uh,
Didn't graduate.
that's
Oh.
really good. Yeah. Public health.
Did you go for undergrad or
It
master's?
was undergrad. It was small.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve, to send to this full Senate, our approval of Dr. David Merman for confirmation as a member of the Green Mountain Care Board. Call the roll. You're the clerk.
Do you look? Me?
you're the clerk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's
Oh, you're the
prepared.
clerk.
She's got
Well,
it.
yeah. You were-
Well, a real clerk. please stand.
he filled in for you.
I thought you wanted me to vote. for it.
I'm sorry. I
He's clerk of
apologize, Senator Goulart.
education.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's okay.
So I will start and I will vote yes. Senator Hardy,
Yeah, no, I mean, not no, not yes, abstain,
She was absent.
absent, whatever.
She's the one at the very end.
Got it.
All of the above.
Senator Williams,
Yes.
Senator Weeks,
Yes.
Senator Chair Lyons.
Yes,
Great, so the tally is 401,
that's good.
and
Who's gonna report this person?
Vice Chair, since you got
Yeah,
the Tusk
what,
connection. Yeah, there you
what
go.
day roughly do you think this would possibly?
It'll be, the Senate, the chair of GovOps will be calling on people on a Friday.
Yeah, we won't do it this Friday because we have too much on our calendar.
Okay.
I guess it will be next Friday, but I will check in with you before it comes up to make sure you're ready.
I just put this in my desk. There you go.
Yeah,
So you will report?
Sure.
Okay, I think that we're gonna end for the day, and you all have people who've been calling for additional confirmation.
Yep,
Yes.
I mean, I emailed all mine.
Okay. And we are trying to get our field trip set up, so we'll keep informed on that. I mean, we were gonna do it this week is impossible. Okay, so we'll go
Is the
offline.
intent on the field trip is like a half day deal or is it a full day? So it would be the more